Did not Moses give you the law, and yet none of you keepeth the law? Why go ye about to kill me? And here we show how it's still applicable to us today. Matthew 5:17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no way wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Go ahead and say that one more time, please.
This is not a joke. He actually doesn't get what he just read. Silly atheists. Bible reading is for professionals.
The new porcupine on the block with the buff chest, out the wilderness with the ruggedness. I was born by myself, I don't need a posse, I get it on by myself. Adversaries get shelved.
Well, I already did a video on this, but looks like I gotta go deeper into detail. So, Matthew, in the 5th chapter, in the 18th verse, this is the key verse here. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Till all be fulfilled. What this means is that heaven and earth will pass before something in the law changes, before it's fulfilled. So, what does fulfill mean? You see, there was a law in the Mosaic times called the Mosaic Law, and Christ was a perfect sacrifice because he followed the law perfectly, unlike anybody else who could not follow the law perfectly. Also, in the Old Testament, there are several prophecies of Christ's crucifixion that needed to be fulfilled before Christ gave up the ghost. I don't want to make this video extra long, so you can go and look up the Bible prophecies on the crucifixion of Christ and read them yourself. Or I'll provide a link that has them so you can read them. But pretty much we're going to go now to John in the 19th chapter and the 28th verse, and that says, after this Jesus, knowing that all things were now accomplished, that the scripture might be fulfilled, saith, I thirst. So pretty much this guy, smpunditz, or whatever his name is, he pulled scripture out of John in the 7th chapter and Matthew in the 5th chapter, which was way before the crucifixion. He had not fulfilled the law yet, so they were still under Mosaic Law. But when it was fulfilled, like Christ said, knowing that they were finally fulfilled, then he said he's thirsty, and they shoved a sponge full of vinegar in his face, and then he gave up the ghost because everything was fulfilled. So this completely destroys the point that this guy is trying to make, which is invalid. The Mosaic Law was hammered to the cross, and here is the proof, here is the evidence that I have just provided, and that's the bottom line. There's nothing else that you can do to try to say we're still under that law. So you can either be ignorant and stupid and keep on saying that we're under it, or you can be a man and realize you were wrong.
Most people portray God, which is their idealized version of God, as being this all-benevolent, all-loving entity. And the things that he does in the Bible directly contradict that.
If your child does something that he's not supposed to do you give the child a hug, give him candy and popcorn, and let him go to the movies, or do you punish him? You punish him. Now, when God said, don't do this or don't do that in the Old Testament, he meant what he said, and when they didn't follow, they got punished. Now, on that note, if you have a child and you don't want him to touch something, you can do one of two things. You can leave something on the table that you want there, and you can tell the child, don't touch it. And if you do touch it, you're going to get a whooping. Or number two, you can move the item somewhere else and the child never learns any self-discipline whatsoever. I can bring up many examples of that. You got all these kids nowadays because people don't know how to discipline and punish their children. The children are mopping up their parents. So there was no forgiveness for sin back then, so some people just got punished, some people got smoted. Because he can't murder because all life belongs to him, so he smites.
God does not even meet his own standard definition of what qualifies as love. In Exodus 25, God says that he is jealous. However, in Corinthians 1:13-4, it clearly states that love is not jealous.
You used the New American Standard Bible, didn't you? Shame, shame, shame. This is the reason why I'm a King James onlyist, because the little minor changes that they make in words in all these other Bibles destroys the Bible. Let's go into detail on how we're going to destroy this contradiction. Okay, so the New American Standard Bible says, love is patient, love is kind, and is not jealous. Love does not brag and is not arrogant. Those are tremendous changes. Let's look at the King James Version, which is the only Bible that should be on this planet. Charity suffereth long, and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up. Now, let's look at the differences between envy and jealousy. Here's an example of envy. You have, and I should have as well. Here's an example of jealousy. You have, and I should have instead. So, now, the American Standard Version uses jealous. And the King James Version, which should be the only Bible on this planet, again, says envy. Now, God, in the Old Testament, said he's a jealous God, meaning he wants no other gods to be served. He wants to be the only one. Jealousy. So that's the New American Standard Bible. If you use that, there's a clear contradiction. But if you use the King James Version, where it says, is charity envieth not, envy would mean that God would have had to have said he also wants to be served among other gods. Then that would make it a contradiction. But because the King James Version of the Bible is the most credible version there is, that destroys the contradiction that you tried to make. Try again, buddy. Also, real quick, you're going to want to make note that love and charity are two different words with two different definitions, so that further destroys the contradiction that is claimed to be there. Ah, silly atheists, I told you. Bible reading is for professionals, not beginners.
You worship a God who ordered the Israelites to slam the skulls of babies into rocks.
I don't remember the Bible ever going into that much detail about it. He ordered them to kill off a certain people because they were sinning and there was no forgiveness for sin back then. So if there was no forgiveness for sin back then, who are you to fight against God and say, no, I'm not going to do it, and he's just going to smote you right then and there? So number two, the slavery argument has been destroyed by Versatile Mind for Christ. And I will post again the link here and in the description box, I guess, since I have to and must over and over again.
You worship a God who did not have the forethought not to plant the tree of knowledge in the middle of the Garden of Eden.
If you have something that belongs on the table and you have children, do you set the thing on the table where it belongs and do you tell them don't touch that or you're going to get a whooping? Or do you move it off the table where it doesn't belong? Simple as that. You punish the child if he touches it. So it has nothing to do with God not putting the tree there. He said don't touch it. That means don't touch it. To add to that, God gave us free will to do as we please. Whether or not he knew it was going to happen, he gave us free will because he loves us that much. He would be an unloving God if he didn't give us free will and forced us to serve him. So he gave us the choice whether or not to serve him or not. You can go to hell or go to heaven. I mean, you choose. You want to go to hell, you want to go to heaven. Eat the doggone fruit or don't eat it. As simple as that.